So let's just really have a conversation about
Okay. All right.
travel and what's going on and how we
Well,
can help.
it's a terrible situation right now with the travel business. All these cancellation due to the coronavirus. And I, for one, is a small business person. And I try to secure almost like 5 to 6 groups a year to sustain me. And all of them have canceled so far.
Wow, yeah, that's a big hit.
So, we are really bleeding. We are bleeding. The good thing is that normally I tend to encourage my clients to take a travel insurance. So most of them are covered with a travel insurance, which is such a very important thing to have at this time of this terrible crisis.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the insurance and how it protects people who who have to cancel because they're sick or something comes up.
Yeah, I normally use Travel Guard, and Travel Guard has an insurance called Travel Plus. And that particular insurance I use for international travel because it has a very huge coverage. And for example, now that we have a crisis, if you cancel, 100% you'll be refunded. So there is no fee or anything like that that the insurance would have to take for
Yeah.
cancellations. Full benefit. The other good thing about that insurance is the fact that it gives you almost $1 million coverage if you travel overseas and maybe you die. And if you're sick, you have $500,000 coverage on it. And it's not that terribly expensive. It's based on your age and the cost of the trip.
Yeah.
So I always say do not leave home without a travel insurance.
Oh, I think that's great advice.
Yes.
So, what happens if you do get sick? How does it help you? Or what do they do for you
If you fall sick whilst you're away, all you need to do is to call the insurance company and tell them where you are, whether you're in hospital or whether if you've just seen a doctor, you keep your receipt, and when you come back, you present that and you'll be reimbursed. But if you are admitted in a hospital, you call them and they will immediately take over with the hospital to let them know that you're covered.
Wow.
Yeah, so you don't need to think about that.
What if you're on a ship?
If you're on a ship, it's the same thing. If you fall sick and you get in touch with them, they will definitely take over from there. Yeah.
Okay.
If you miss your flight, if you lose your luggage, those things, you send them a receipt of the flight details, and then you lose your luggage. The airline definitely would give you an invoice to show that you did not come with your bags and your bags were missing. And based on that, they will be able to reimburse you.
Let's talk a little bit about what you do as a travel agent, as opposed to going online and just booking your flight on one of those
Well,
online
we
things.
are no longer referred to as travel agents.
Oh, okay.
We are now referred to as travel advisors. And which means that the difference is if you're running a business and you have an agent to help you solidify things. But with us as a travel advisor, we sort of take over control of what you have to do to advise you so that you'll be able to travel with comfort. And because sometimes people go online and think that like a major trip going on an African safari and you have to piece so many things together. You have to change flights, you have to be at this airport. And they don't know how to do it. Some
Yeah.
of them I had a client who said that a friend spent a night at the airport because she did not do the connecting flight correctly.
Oh my goodness.
So, under those circumstances, you really need a travel advisor to help you piece your itinerary from place to place so that at least you travel in comfort and smoothly. Now, I tell people that the online is not my competitor because the level of service I give to my clients is far above what you get online. For example, you travel and you have any difficulties coming back. Online is not going to bring you back. But if you book through a travel advisor, not specifically me, but a travel advisor, and you call them, they are there 24/7 for you. They will be able to put you on the next flight. They'll be able to make sure maybe check into the hotel. In online, they don't offer those services. And the other thing is that we make time to visit most of the properties we sell. So we familiarize ourselves with what we sell. Online, you buy a picture, and maybe when you arrive there, you
Yeah.
you're completely and totally disappointed. I had a client about 2 Christmases ago. She normally buys a vacation during Christmas time, and that Christmas she said, "Oh, the family is not traveling," but then they decided, and she said they were frustrated, they want to go somewhere. So she went online and bought a vacation to Panama Canal, which guaranteed her transfer from the airport, ocean view room at the hotel. And she found that her room was facing the park, and there was no one at the airport to meet her. And she did not take an insurance. So she
Oh my
lost
goodness.
almost $5,000. She had to call me from Panama and say, "Eugenia, I have a confession. I really went to do this thing, and look at where we are. My family is totally frustrated with me. What can you do?" So I had to get in touch with a supplier that sells that destination, and we were able to transfer them to a comfortable hotel where they were able to enjoy the rest of the vacation.
Wow.
So there is a vast difference between going online by yourself and coming to someone who's that's what they do for a living. Yeah. So.
So very, very interesting. And thank you for that. That's good advice. Uh, what kind of people are, when they come through the door, what do they need to know about you that makes you special in solving their problems? And what kind of problems or expectations are they going to have about going on a good trip? Why? What do you do that makes them feel better and know that they're doing the right person?
Well, I've been very fortunate because most of my clients come from me from word of mouth. Another referral, somebody who has used my services, they are completely and totally satisfied. I have a client who just came from a safari and he said, "The memories you created for me, I'll take to my grave." So people come with different expectations, and we have to take time to know what they need to make their vacation memorable, enjoyable, and with lots of fun. I try to let my clients know that vacation is not fun all the time, it's an education. So wherever you go, look for something in that destination that you've never known before and educate yourself in that. So what we do, we try to create memories with memories that could just play in the client's mind for years to come. And people come with the expectations and say, "Oh, I'm thinking of, for example, I want to go on a safari." And I said, "What I sell, I don't sell only safari. I sell the country, I sell the culture, I sell the people, I sell the food." So, and of course, you'll have your safari because those countries are not made of animals all the time. So you have to let the clients know that when you get to a destination like that, even though your objective is to go on this extravagant or exotic safari, but there are other things that makes the trip. So I try to include the culture, the people. I try to let them eat in a place where they will be able to sample the food. I try to make them also understand the country, the people, the culture, the tradition. Because if you don't understand people, you don't understand their culture. You don't. If you don't understand people's culture, you don't understand the people.
Yeah.
So these are the things. For example, for a safari, I put into my itinerary, and people just love it. they just love it, and they get back to me and said, "Oh my God, I can never forget this trip because they just don't did not go on the trip and got on a jeep and just did a 2 3 day safari with animals and then leave. They came with a memory of the people, of the country, and the culture and the tradition and the food.
Yeah. And that's something you could never do by yourself
You
if you had
cannot.
never been there.
No,
Yeah.
you have to be able to work with someone who has a niche. Who, this is what they do for their living. You see, another thing I do destination weddings. I spend hours sitting with the bride and the groom and the families to see what they want to make that wedding or that honeymoon special. How could we wow you? Normally, I say you want to wow you after you've taken your vows. so, so people come with different types of things, but you just have to find out from the clients what they are looking for. That definitely would make that vacation or that short getaway a memorable one for them.
What's an example of a destination wedding that you had a particularly good feeling about, or that the couple had a wonderful time?
Oh, well, my safaris has been a memorable one, but a destination that I actually sent a couple to was Hawaii,
Huh?
and they just love Hawaii. And I said, what actually blew your mind about Hawaii? See the people, and they watch the Hawaiian dance. They said it's so soothing, it's so emotional. It just puts us in the mood that we were when we got married. You know, the beach, the lovely, 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 lovely miles and miles of sandy beaches,
Oh, nice.
the weather, you know, all different
I
types of
know
activities.
a young couple who's planning on getting married, and I think you're helping them actually.
Yeah.
He asked me the other day, should we just go on the beach or should we see things while we're in Hawaii? And I said, are you going to go back to Hawaii very often? And he said, no.
No.
So I said, well, go see things. You're going to be
Yes.
together the rest of your life.
No.
Don't just sit on the beach.
Well, that's what we take into consideration because there's some destination you might not go to anymore in your lifetime. So once you get there, we make sure that you see things that will really and truly bring that vacation together for you. And even if you don't go back, you've actually had a good feel of the place, of the destination. And that's why we go on farm trips, which is a familiarization tour all the time. Look at new destinations, look at new hotels, sleep on the beds, eat the food, so that I can go to bed and say, Jim, you can go to Hawaii, or you can go to Singapore, you can go to Thailand. I'm sending you to XYZ hotel because I know it.
Yeah.
You see, because I've been there and I've tried it. But you go online, it's a lucky dip. What you get is what you see sometimes, it's not what you thought you were.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about the safaris. I know that's one of the things that you specialize in.
Well, as I said earlier on, that I do not always sell safari. I sell the country, I sell the people, I sell the culture, I sell the tradition, I sell the food, and of course, a memorable experience. And the way I do my itinerary is that, like, I just have a group of 28 that came back in September, and I'm working on another one with coronavirus would allow us to go through with that. But what I did was when they left here, they arrived in Johannesburg. I connect them to a wonderful safari village, and they went there for 2 nights, had the taste of a safari, and they brought them back to Johannesburg, where we now expose them to the people. We went to Soweto. Soweto is a township where people were kept during the apartheid period, and actually organized a visit to a woman who lives in in Soweto, and she only has like a space like my kitchen, but she has a bed. She's a dressmaker and extremely clean. She has a kitchen just in that little one room.
Wow.
Yeah. And this was what they did, when they confined people to those types of homes during apartheid. So you actually saw what people went through, what conditions they were. Took them to see Nelson Mandela's home, took them to see Robben Island, where he was kept for 27 years in prison. And we saw Bishop Tutu's home and, did some visit there. And then they went on this exclusive train, which is called the Blue Train. And it's one of the most expensive trains in the world for 2 nights. And that train took them to Cape Town. And in Cape Town, we took them to the winelands because South Africa grow grapes, and they have lovely, 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 lovely grape wines all over the place. And they actually stayed in a hotel within the winelands. And from there, they came back to Cape Town, did the city tour, went to the Table Mountain, which is one of the highlights of Cape Town, and went to the Cape of Good Hope.
Oh.
Yeah, where the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean meets. And then we flew them to Botswana for another safari. And then they finished that, came by road to Victoria Falls, and saw the falls, the 7 wonders of the world. So they had, a full itinerary which gave them a deep and deep, deep knowledge of the country, the people, and everything.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. When can I go?
When you're ready. When you're ready.
So let's talk a little bit about the virus and cruising, and what's your opinion on what happens, is the industry doing now to help people stay safe, or should we not go? All those kind of questions.
Well, the media has actually done a terrible thing to the travel industry because people are watching what's going on. I'm not trying to minimize the danger of the coronavirus, but the way in which the media has been talking about it, it's really scary to people. For example, there's only one cruise ship that was infected with coronavirus, and because that ship did Asia, they were in Hong Kong. And what they did was they could not bring the ship back to the United States. They Princess used another ship that they had in the area to transport the guests that were on that ship back to the United States, and they were in San Francisco. They could not allow them to disembark the ship, and the news went around like wildfire that every cruise ship is now the home for coronavirus, which is terrible. It's very, very bad. It's only one ship. And we had a meeting with the directors of all the cruise lines. And when they explained to us the measures that they're taking to protect their guests, to make sure their guests are safe, nobody's going to board that cruise ship and become sick. So I don't know what they're going to do to really and truly regain the confidence of people to go on a cruise ship, because people are now scared that you are in a closed environment with people on a ship, you cannot escape, and so your chances of having the virus is so high than not being on the ship. But that's not true. It's just over and over.
What are the shipping companies doing to protect?
They're testing people before you get on board. Before you get on board, you go through, you know, testing. They showed us how they're cleaning everywhere, disinfecting everywhere. Everywhere you go, there is sanitizer, there is this, there is that. You know, they're doing everything that has been recommended to make sure that people don't get infected. So I don't know what more they could do, but it is not all the cruise ships that have coronavirus.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah.
Still, it's a scary thing, and
It's a scary thing because I personally believe that the action to stop the virus spreading in the United States was not captured immediately when it started. You know, to say that the coronavirus is a hoax.
yeah.
I mean, that's very scary
Yeah.
from someone who should be out there looking out for us and making sure that we don't get infected.
Yeah.
So, but the cruise lines, the airlines, they are all taking very stringent measures to make sure that everybody is safe. I have a friend who flew from Nigeria to here. She came in on Monday. She left yesterday to Los Angeles. She's fine.
Yeah.
But yet, you know, you want to convince people. I have a group going, they should leave next Friday to go to Jamaica. The woman has threatened 3 times to cancel because, you know, she's. If even there's an incident of corona in Jamaica, it's not even two or one person, you know. So they are afraid to go. That when they come back, they will be quarantined. I say, no, if you're coming from a country that is infected with the virus, definitely you'll be quarantined. But if you're coming from a country that does not have an incident of the virus, why would you be quarantined when you come in? But it's very difficult to explain this to people. And I cannot force them to go. I just say, you know, you have to make a decision, an educated decision that you think would be good for you. But I do not think that this is a place you should go to. That's my own opinion.
Do the travel industry have an opinion on when this is going to end, or
They don't have an opinion because this is an avalanche of
yeah,
disaster on the industry. And if we could end it tomorrow, oh my God. And today I heard on the TV, they're talking about 4 to 6 weeks.
that's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah. To have nothing, no
to
business,
have no
nothing.
business, no nothing. You know.
We may have this afternoon an emergency declared here in this country. I don't know whether he's going to do it or not. But I just
An
heard
emergency?
that on the news. Yeah.
Oh, emergency what?
Yeah, he's the state of emergency.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So what that means, we'll have to wait and see.
I don't know. I really don't know. It's killing.
So let's talk about something more pleasant. So what what does travel do for people? I mean, why do people travel, and why should they travel? What are some
Well,
of the
for me,
wonderful
travel
things?
is an education. If you don't travel, you're just on page one of your life. Because there's so much to learn. My husband worked for 25 years with the United Nations, and I had the opportunity of traveling to different places. In fact, that's the incentive for me to start a travel business, because I just want to share my experience with people and culture and tradition in other countries that I've lived with people. And it's a very, very important aspect of your life. If you can afford it, you can do it, to make sure you travel and see other places. Because being locked in here in the United States, thinking that the world starts in New York and ends in Los Angeles, it's
You mean
just,
it doesn't?
it doesn't. There is so much to learn about people. For example, we were living in Ethiopia for about 4 years. And in Ethiopia, you have the opportunity or the luxury of having people to work for you, help you in your homes and things like that. And I discovered that some of the people who were working for me twice a week, they would never touch a dairy product. No eggs, no cheese, no milk, nothing. Because they're Orthodox Christian and they don't eat those things. They don't eat pork, and they would not even eat from a. If you cook something in a pot that you have used to cook pork, they would even eat it. That's how strict they were with their religion.
Mm.
So it's very very important for people to travel. My kids, I call them third and fourth culture, world culture kids, because they have the opportunity to live in different places, and which has enabled them to have a broad perspective of life and be able to live with anybody, because they have the opportunity to go to international schools and actually mingle with kids from various parts of the world. So it's for them now as adults, it's very easy for them to live anywhere because they've had that exposure and they can meet and talk to anybody. So it is a very important aspect of one's life if you can afford it to do it. Even a short vacation to Florida is good. There's something I'm sure you could find in Florida that is interesting that you've never seen before.
Right. Right. You touched on it, but tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background, and how did you get into this wonderful business?
Oh, well, my background, I did a course, a degree course in international affairs, and I specialized in world cultures. But I never actually worked as one because I was traveling all over the place with my husband living in different places. And when he was about to retire, one of my friends said to me, "What are you going to do with your time?" I said, "That's a very important question. I've not even thought of it." Because I was working full time. I used to work at the Ford Foundation for almost 5, 6 years when I left, and then I worked for World Health Organization. I'm originally from Sierra Leone, and I was the World Health Organization operations manager. They actually set up the office for World Health there. And then we lived in Senegal. I worked for World Vision for a couple of years until we moved to New York and I started working for the Ford Foundation. So at the end of my husband's tenure of office, he's a civil engineer and he kept grumbling that he's an engineer and he doesn't want to do administrative work for the rest of his life. He needs to get back to his specialization. So he left and started his own consulting firm. Still consults from time to time with the UN. And I decided, a friend said to me, "Why don't you go and do travel?" I said, "Travel?" He said, "Yes." He said, and in the United States, you don't need to have a front street agency these days. You can do your travel from home. They're home-based agents. I said, "Oh, wow. How do I do that?" So I just kept it at the back of my brain that maybe this is something I would look into. And then when we came back here, my kids were in boarding school in England, and I needed to do something that would give me the flexibility to travel, to be with them when they're on half time and things like that. And I didn't want to go and work full time anymore. And then just one day I saw an advert in New York Times training people who want to sell travel from home. They're running a course. So I said, "Oh, well, this is stage one."
Yeah.
So I called them, registered for the course, I took it. And at that time, they have people who call themselves host agencies. So they act as your host whilst you're training to become an advisor. So I took a whole year to specialize and to take all the courses because to get my certification as a travel counselor, and even to sell cruises, you have to get something they call a master cruise counselor. So you have to take that course. And then after I've done all that, and I was working through this host agency in New York, but they take almost 50% of your commission. And I said, no, I cannot be working and losing all that money. So I decided to go on my own. And yeah, 18 years later.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've actually, my only regret is that maybe I should have done this earlier on in my younger days because I just love what I do. I love what I do. I love when people come back and they give you such memorable experience and they give you a recount of their experiences and you feel so fulfilled that you actually created something that somebody enjoyed. You
What else should we talk about?
know. I think that's it.
Right.
There's nothing much more. The only thing that people should be aware that it's not going online and trying to do things yourself is the best way. Because in case of anything like what I had this morning, two ladies who went to Madrid, and then now there is this ban from traveling to Europe. In order for them to get back home, they bought their tickets online. They spent $7,000.
Wow.
If they had bought their ticket through a travel advisor, they would have brought them back and changed their tickets and maybe pay a change fee and things like that. So it's always important to use your travel advisor. If not, you're on your own.
Good advice. So one more question.
Yeah.
What's the meaning of life?
Meaning of life. I believe that life is something that God gave to us for a particular time. And I think that whilst you are here and you have the opportunity and you have the knowledge that this is not something that is going to live forever, you have to make sure you do the things that you enjoy. And you also, your interactions with other people, always put yourself in the other man's shoes. And whatever you do to other people, make sure if somebody does it to you, you'll be happy about it. So do good to others. And for me, I have very strong faith in God. I believe that there is a miracle worker out there who has great plans, and by the time you are born, He has created a path for you. And always, every day when you wake up, try to ask Him to keep you on that path that He has created for you. And again, because life is not something that is given to you forever,